Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into Key Time Sports. It's Key Time coming back to talk about the NFL Divisional Round weekend of games. Now, these are the top 8 teams in the NFL. Four in the AFC and four in the NFC. Now, one thing that I'm going to give you throughout this show, I'm going to give you some stats and historical stats when it comes to how often these teams fare in divisional round games. The first one I want to start off with is the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. So now we can see that the Houston Texans, they have had some sort of a disappointing season, and you can see it when it comes to their regular season stats and postseason stats. When it comes to their regular season stats, regular season stats, here they are. CJ Stroud had over 3,000 yards passing. Joe Mixon, he had over 1,000 yards rushing. Nico Collins, 1,000 yards receiving. Henry Toto, over 100 tackles. And Derek Stingley Jr., 5 interceptions. So you see that they have a two-quarterback system with the Houston Texans. Then you see that their rushing game is led by Joe Mixon, and their receiver core is led by Nico Collins. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, he won't be playing in this game. Dalton Schultz, Stephon Diggs, he won't be playing in this game. Joe Mixon, he is reliable in the pass game. And you have the defense. Now, the Houston Texans defense has been up and down all season. It has been. And as you can see on this list, where nobody outside of Henry Toto has over 110 tackles. Everybody is under 110 tackles in this defensive lineup. Now, as we get to the offense in this case, now the Houston Texans offense has missed a beat throughout the regular season. They average 21.9 points per game throughout the regular season. And last week they not scored, but the defense contributed to most of the scoring last week. So when you look at the Houston Texans and how they scored last week, does anybody really think that they can go down the field on the Kansas City Chiefs defense and score 3+ touchdowns? I don't think so. And when you see where Tank Dell is out, Stephon Diggs is out, their top tight end is out, and also their cornerbacks are injury riddled too, and the defensive line isn't what it once was earlier in the season. And now everybody is saying that this game is going to be close when they go to Kansas City in Arrowhead and play the Chiefs tomorrow. I just don't see it happening. So let's fast forward to last week's game. Last week's game, the Chargers, it was they had the lead. It was 6-0, and then all of a sudden the avalanche, or the bottom fell out the barrel, whatever you want to call it. But the Chargers, they really had no business losing that game. They really didn't. But when you see CJ Stroud, he had an okay game. Joe Mixon had an okay game. Everybody on the Houston Texans had an okay game. Now, when you see where Houston's defense cannot hold up, you are going to see that against the Kansas City Chiefs, because I'm going to switch on over to the Kansas City Chiefs. But first off, Here are their statistics since the postseason has started. Basically, one game. So that's all the Houston Texans statistics for the playoffs. Here is the Kansas City Chiefs statistics for the regular season. So as we can see, Patrick Mahomes, he had over 3,000 yards passing. And also, the Kansas City Chiefs, they get back Marquise Hollywood Brown. I heard in at the start of the season, didn't nobody think that he was going to be able to play in the regular season, but everybody was holding out hope for the playoffs. Now the playoffs have arrived. Let's see what Marquise Hollywood Brown can show as far as his play. But you got two quarterback system with the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, we all know what he can do. Carson Wentz, he came in mop up duty week 17, and he played an okay game, but like I said, the Kansas City Chiefs had the number one seed sold up, so they didn't want to risk injuring any of their star players. Led by Kareem Hunt, the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Then there's Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco, this is a game where he can rattle off maybe two or three big runs that can determine the outcome of this game because it seems like that most people when they are betting now this game that their hands are twisted because they know what kind of offense the Kansas City Chiefs have, but we haven't seen that all throughout this season. And we know what kind of offense, well, sputtering offense, that the Houston Texans have too. So, as you can see, the the wide receiver core led by Travis Kelsey. I believe this is a breakout game for Xavier Worthy. Only thing Xavier Worthy needs is about maybe 3, 4 catches in this game that goes for 3, 4. Let's say 4 catches for 100 yards in this game from Xavier Worthy. That's the type of stat line Xavier Worthy needs. Now, I haven't even mentioned DeAndre Hopkins yet. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, he did a number on the Houston Texans a few weeks back. Noah Gray, they only have maybe 2 or 3 plays for Noah Gray. It is either a short corner out or a deep go ball. That's the only 2 plays that they have for Noah Gray. So Noah Gray, he might have a chance at making at putting his imprint on this game. Then you have, excuse me, then you have Juju Smith Schuster. He is an X factor. He hasn't done much throughout the season. You have Justin Watson. He's an X factor. Hasn't done much throughout the season. And then let me get to the Kansas City Chiefs defense. The Kansas City Chiefs defense, they have went from a defense that over the past 3, 4 years that couldn't stop anybody. And basically the Chiefs had to win all of these shootouts to a team now, a defense now where they can stop somebody consistently throughout the game, have multiple 3-and-outs here and there. So now we see the Kansas City Chiefs defense led by Nick Bolton. And I'm going to let everybody have a good look because there are a lot of X factors on this defensive list that I think that can make a name for themselves come tomorrow, and not even tomorrow if they are lucky. No, excuse me. If they win this game, AFC Championship game will be right back in Arrowhead for the fifth time in 6 years. Fifth time in 6 years. And also, Kansas City Chiefs will be one step closer at winning a third Super Bowl. So this who do I pick as the winner of this game? I picked the Kansas City Chiefs because Kansas City Chiefs, they have the better defense. They have the better, I'm going to say they have the better wide receivers because outside of the Houston Texans, all of their legitimate wide receivers are injured or no, excuse me, injured, and they have such a tough time scoring touchdowns consistently that Houston Texans do. The Kansas City Chiefs, what they do is they manage the whole game with their offense, having 7, 8 yard, 8 minute possessions. That is gonna tire out the opposing defense 99% of the time. And I think that is what the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do in this game. And that is why I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game. And this game, I'm gonna just say this. This game is going to be close, but I wouldn't be surprised if I come in here Monday morning and we see where the Kansas City Chiefs won by 10, 20 points or 3 touchdowns in this game because of lack of offensive efficiency from the Houston Texans. Now, the next game I am going to cover is the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions. Jaden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year in my book. So, and also Jaden Daniels, he had a good game last week versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They really controlled the game from a down and distance standpoint because every time on fourth down they went for it. Now, credit. Sometimes they didn't convert, and other times they did. But their average fourth down and distance was 4th and 4. So not too much, not a long down and distance, but like I always say, fourth down, you're rolling the dice. And Jaden Daniels, he believes that there is no defense that is better than his offense that he leads. Now, this guy, he has a bunch, and I do mean a bunch of confidence going into this game, and he should. Now we look on over to the Detroit Lions. Here are the Washington Commanders offensive statistics from last week. And now we shift on over to the Detroit Lions offensive statistics from the regular season. Now, Jared Goff, he threw for over 4,000 yards. Jameer Gibbs, he ran for over 1,000 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown had over 1,000 receiving yards. Jack Campbell, he was the leader in tackles for the Detroit Lions. And Kirby Joseph, the leader in interceptions. Excuse me. Now, Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker, they are led by a 2 quarterback system with the Detroit Lions. Jameer Gibbs, he has just been an elusive runner throughout the season. I expect him to have a good game versus the Washington Commanders. I expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to have a good game. And not just him. I'm going to go down a list and tell you who the guys on the Detroit Lions I expect to have a breakout game, including Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, David Montgomery, even though he might be injured. I like to call him Demo for short. Khalif Raymond, Brock White, Craig Reynolds. Now, Craig Reynolds, he is an X factor too, because he is the second running back on the running back depth chart, and he is a legitimate receiving threat out the backfield. So Washington Commanders might have to expand their game plan to try to neutralize Craig Reynolds, because he, over the season, he hasn't played much, but when he's out there on the field, he has scored, no, excuse me, he hasn't scored a touchdown, but he has had plays, he has had 5 plays over 10 yards or more. And we all know that if you get 10 yards or more, you be done got a first down. So Craig Reynolds is another X factor in my book. Now, as far as the defense concerned for the Detroit Lions, led by Jack Campbell, then Brian Branch, then Kirby Joseph, Alex Alonzo Alizoni, Alex Alazoni, Carlton Davis the third, and here is a few more X factors on this list. I'm gonna let y'all. I'm going to go down this list slowly, so everybody can get a good look at who I am referring to as the X factor on the defensive side of the ball for the Detroit Lions. Now, do I think that the Washington Commanders will have a good game versus the Detroit Lions? I do believe so, but it's just something. It's the Washington Commanders, they are a young, up and coming team. This is the first year of this team as a group. I just think that the Detroit Lions, they have what I'm gonna say, they have bigger fish to fry. And what I mean by that is Dan Campbell, he said at the start of the season, he believed that this team can go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And he said this season at the start that they could get back to the NFC Championship game. And if they win this game, which I believe in my heart that they will do, the NFC Championship game will be in the Motor City. Now, I believe that the Detroit Lions will win this game by 10 points. I do believe that 10 points because the Commanders, they going to keep it close for the first 3.5 quarters. And then by that fourth quarter, the Detroit Lions are going to take over the game. The next game I'm going to cover is the Los Angeles Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Los Angeles Rams last week, they had a good showing on the defensive side of the ball. 9 sacks as far as on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to playing the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams offense came to play last week, scored 27 points en route to a 27-9 win. This week, they are going up to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, we already know that is a hostile environment. That's a hostile environment. Matthew Stafford, he is going to have a good game, and plus the Rams are going to have to score touchdowns on almost every possession that they have the ball, because if you punt the ball versus the Philadelphia Eagles, you might be down for the entirety of the game. Now, when we look at the Rams, we know running backs, they have Karen Williams. Then for receiving, they are led by Puka Nacua and Tyler Higbee. The defensive side of the ball for the Rams, they are led by Jalen McLaughlin. And also, there's a lot of X factors for the Rams in this case on the defensive side of the ball. So, like I said, when it comes to playoff time, the people that did not play much in the regular season have a chance to make a name for themselves in the playoffs. So now let me shift on over to the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles offense last week was running in place. I'm going to say that because for like maybe 2 quarters and a half, they couldn't get a big play for nothing. And Jalen Hurts, last week coming off of an injury, he only threw 131 yards. So when you see that, when you see them as a team only throwing over 131 yards, also Saquon Barkley. Now he cracked over 100 yards. That's always the regular for him. And also the wide receiver core for the Philadelphia Eagles, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jahan Dotson, A.J. Brown, Grant Calatrava, and also Saquon Barkley. He is a dynamic running back out of the backfield, but he is also good in the passing game too. So what I see from this game coming up, I see the Philadelphia Eagles really running over the Rams defense. And what I'm going to say is that the Philadelphia Eagles, they are going to pick their spots and throw here and there who they want who they want to throw the ball to. Now I expect Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown to have a better game than they had last week versus the Packers. So now, who do I have winning this game? I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game, and also I have both teams playing both teams in the top two teams in the NFC playing for the right to go to the Super Bowl in Detroit. So the next game I am going to cover is the MVP showdown that we have all been looking for, the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. Now, over the past few days and throughout this week, I keep on hearing the term legacy when it comes to both of these quarterbacks. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's only been in the NFL, let's say, only 5, 6 years. Josh Allen has been in the league for, I'm going to say 10 or 11. Is this really a legacy game for Lamar Jackson? I mean, everybody. And do I really have to go down a list on what all of these naysayers told Lamar Jackson coming out of college when he was playing at Louisville? They said that he was too skinny to be a quarterback. They were saying that maybe he needed to look at a different position other than quarterback, maybe cornerback or wide receiver. But Lamar Jackson told everybody, he said, no, I'm going to stay a quarterback in the draft. And you can see where he has had strides of success throughout his career since he's been playing in Baltimore. Now, they do have Derrick Henry as the bell cow running back for this year, and also Isaiah Likely. He has really much made a good name for himself ever since the first game of the season. Because I was looking at him in the first game of the season, and that's when he made a name for himself. And I told everybody, watch out for this person named Isaiah Likely on the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we see where the Baltimore Ravens top dog as far as their wide receiving core, Zay Flowers, he might be unlikely to go in this game. So Isaiah Likely is going to have to shoulder the load. Mark Andrews, Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wise, Justice Hill, they are going to have to shoulder the load as far as gaining yards through the air for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. The defense for the Baltimore Ravens, they are top 5 in the NFL in total yards allowed and in total points allowed. We see what the Baltimore Ravens defense can do. Now I'm going to shift it over to the last team that I am going to talk about for today, and I'm going to give my prediction for this game. in a few minutes. Now, let's shift on over to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, he's been at this thing for over 10 years now in the NFL. And it has been 4, maybe 5 years since he's gotten to a AFC divisional round game or the championship game like they did back in 21. Now, this Buffalo Bills team that's led by Josh Allen, he has been more conservative with the ball. He hasn't thrown as many interceptions this season as he had in previous years past. James Cook, bell cow running back throughout the regular season, also had a good game in the playoff game versus the Broncos. Curtis Samuel, another guy who is basically a no-name receiver but has made a name with the Buffalo Bills. Also, Khalil Shakir, another guy who didn't really have a big name coming into this season. He's made a name for himself. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, they both had somewhat big names coming into the season, but since they've been in the offensive scheme of the Buffalo Bills, mastered they have just mastered their creativity when it comes to getting plays drawn up for them and also manipulating the defense, because we all know that there are in every game, every team that I have mentioned throughout the show, they at least have one top dog as their wide receiver. But when you look at the Buffalo Bills roster, do you see anybody that's a top dog on their roster? Because I don't see it. Because Curtis Samuel, he has had games where he scored, excuse me, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Khalil Shakir, he's had games where he scored 2 or 3 touchdowns. Everybody on the Bills wide receiver roster has had games where they have scored multiple touchdowns, but it's not on a consistent basis. And I'm gonna give y'all this stat because I know most people don't know this stat. But does anybody know that the Buffalo Bills have at least 13 players from their wide receiver position that has scored at least 1 touchdown throughout the entirety of this season? Can you believe that? 13 players on the Buffalo Bills, 13 players on the Buffalo Bills has scored at least 1 touchdown, if not more, in multiple games. Now, as far as the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, I don't see how you can just put emphasis on one player when you have so many other players from a Buffalo Bills standpoint that can beat you. So, not to mention that the big name wide receivers, they really don't have an imprint on the game like other teams have. Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman. Throughout the season, I mean, Keon Coleman, he's had a couple touchdowns here and there. Amari Cooper, he got there later on in the season. He had a couple touchdowns here and there. But, like I said, the Baltimore Ravens, you have got a tough task on your hands trying to figure out who to stop on the Buffalo Bills. And also, the game time temperatures in this game, 8 degrees. 8 degrees in this game with a wind chill, I'm going to tell you. And I know, audience, I know I'm making y'all cold. With a wind chill of 20 below zero. And you are going to have to, anybody that's going to the Buffalo Bills game, you are going to have to deal with at least 3 to 5 inches of snow around game time. And let me tell you, this game is going to This game is going to kick off shortly after 6:30 Sunday night in this game. So please please be bundled up if you are going to go out to that game. What I am going to do, I am going to be watching the game from the warm confines of a warm room. So everybody, place your bets accordingly. I'm going to go back over who I said that would win these games. The first game, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. The second game, I have the Detroit Lions. The third game, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles. And the fourth game, I have the Now this is one of the toughest games for me to predict because I like what I'm seeing from the Buffalo Bills and I like what I'm seeing from the Baltimore Ravens. Now, like I said, it's tough for a team to go into Buffalo and win. The Baltimore Ravens, it seems like they have been on a collision course all season to get back to the AFC Championship game and to face the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you also see a Buffalo Bills team that has a very a very dynamic arsenal of players who can score from anywhere on the field. This game, there's really no bad answer and no bad prediction when it comes to making a prediction on this game. But I think what I would what now I'm gonna say what everybody wants to see is Baltimore and a rematch of Baltimore and Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. But for Baltimore going into Buffalo and trying to win and face the Buffalo Bills defense and face that crowd might be too much for them to handle. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills in this game. And make no mistake about it, this game is going to be close throughout. This game is going to be close throughout, and I think that the Buffalo Bills will win this game by 7 points, by a touchdown. And with that, that is my outlook and predictions to the the NFL divisional round weekend of the playoffs. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. Please like, share, and follow Key City Sports on Instagram. And remember, one last thing, the key is always on time.